Are you craving simplicity? Are you ready for your nervous system to stop bracing and waiting for the next thing? Are you having sudden clarity, sudden intuition, vivid dreams, channeled downloads, or a sense that you need to make a move right now? Are you feeling the tension between wanting to slow all the way down and be in the moment, but simultaneously feeling that something big is coming or it's time to start something up and initiate? This is the astrology of this time. Hi, I'm Amy Lynn. This is Astrology Intuition, a podcast where I bring you all of the energetics happening in the cosmos and how we're feeling them with every new moon or full moon when they become especially personal. So, what I'll do today is talk you through the energetics of the next couple of weeks. Today is the new moon in Taurus. And once I cover the energetics and the overall theme, then I'm going to point out chart hotspots. So if you can track your own natal chart and understand more deeply how these energies are working personally with you, that's what the chart hotspots will lead you into. And then I'll give you the detailed day by day calendar style transits that also are a great way to further your deepening understanding of astrology by living through the transits and understanding and tracking them in a planner, which I will link um, I'll put the link to my planner that I published. It's a quarterly planner below where I actually channel all the information 1/4 of a year at a time and put it into this planner that I have published that's on Amazon, and it goes week by week. It calls out the lunar cycles, including the longer lunar manifestation cycles as well, which this new moon and every new moon is the beginning of a very potent 27-month specific energetic timeline for you to manifest. So the new moons have just a ton of power for beginning. So before I jump in, I'm just going to share personally something that's happening because I think it's just so aligned. Tonight, my oldest child graduated from high school, and I just really want to honor and send like a special shout out to this class of human beings because they were in sixth grade when the pandemic hit. And all of us have pandemic scarring, much of which we haven't even really named or worked with yet. I think it's going to be some time before we really can. But this particular, I feel like as a child and family therapist, which is my profession most of the time when I'm not doing astrology and podcasting, um, there were certain developmental ages and stages that just got particularly disrupted with what the pandemic did to them in their developmental process. And the kids who were in sixth grade when that hit, man, I just think they got it harder than a lot of the other stages and ages. They were just coming into their sense of individuality and a sense of how to find community and how to have your own individual identity in a group space with a sense of belonging. Their dopamine was dropping. What you need to have good, healthy dopamine to be a happy human being is social connection, physical touch, novelty, creativity, risk taking. All these things were taken from them. So I just want to send a shout out to these kids who have persevered and have made it through what something that is so challenging to live through for anyone, but particularly at that age. And they are moving on. They're taking their healed whole selves and moving forward into whatever their next chapters have for them. So I just wanted to kind of call that out and shout that out in case any of you out there have a graduating senior or there's anybody in your life who's in that developmental stage right now. It's just particularly potent. And I love it. It's so special for us that his graduation was exactly 2 hours after the new moon was exact. It just feels like this really special new beginning, new start. So, jumping into the overall astrology, let's just start with the new moon. Every time we have a new moon, I feel like the moon in the sky is dark and quiet and asking us to really check in internally, to get into our own self space, our own inward gaze, softening into our own breath, our own presence, our own truth. And from there, connecting out to what's happening in the cosmos to understand how we can co-create and um, align with the energies to support us to begin again. And every new moon is begin again energy. There's always a shorter new moon cycle from this new moon 4-ish weeks later to the next new moon, which culminates with the full moon in a couple of weeks, which is when I'll be back here with my next podcast to talk to you about what's happening in the stars. Um, but there's a longer cycle that's more of like a 6-month pattern where there's a matching zodiac axis. So when there's a new moon in Taurus, we'll have a full moon in Taurus in about 6 months when it's Scorpio season. So that's always like a nice kind of short term setting yourself up with something you want to focus on or start or an intention that you have, something you're transforming and healing and working with, or anything in the themes of Taurus which do connect to simplicity and beauty and the sensory experience of being alive in the body and just having things feel nice. Taurus is also very hardworking, very committed, very grounded. So this is also it's totally aligns with gardening and planting things into the earth as well, that kind of thing. Um, and then there's a longer 27-month pattern, which I mentioned before, and that's something that I call out in the planner where it's pretty great to have it already figured out for you. You can know when the 27-month hot points are, which is a new moon begins the cycle. It's like a longer lunar gestational, lunar manifestation cycle. And 9 months from now, we'll have a first quarter moon. A year and a half from now will be the full moon, where this, whatever we're doing now that has that longer kind of energy to it, will be coming to fruition or completion or resolution or reality if it's something that you're building and birthing. And then 9 months after that, there's kind of a check-in or a closure time. So the lunar gestational or lunar manifestation cycle is super powerful to work with. I can't really say enough about that. Every time we have a new moon, we're starting that out. In the planner, I also talk you through the first quarter moons and the last quarter moons so you get that midway um, 9 months in and 27 months in kind of timeline. So it's kind of neat to look back when you hit a last quarter moon, which we just had last week. You can look back and see, well, what was that 27 months ago? Where was that new moon and what was happening? And there's always something you can find in your personal astrology, especially if you understand where to look in your chart. So just a quick note, when you're applying astrology to your own personal chart, your chart is like a geographic map of the sky, and the transits, the current placement of the planets now, we're kind of overlaying them. We're saying this new moon is happening at 26-ish degrees of Taurus, and you find that exact point. It's one point in your chart, and you find out what do you have there? Do you have any planets or points there? What house is that in? Doesn't bother me which house system you like to use. And that's the place to really be focused on. That's what the astrology is asking you to pay attention to. I haven't said yet in this episode, I am, as a therapist and an intuitive healer, the way the approach, the lens I look through when I'm bringing you astrology is for healing, evolution, personal transformation, and growth. So I'm always kind of bringing up like what's here to work with, what's here to heal or move you forward. Um, that's the lens that you'll hear. So I do want to talk to you about the next couple of weeks. So the energy forecast that I do is about 2 weeks because that's how long it takes us to get to the next lunar cycle. I do these on the new moons and the full moons. So, and I think a 2 week period is like a nice time to work with to kind of like um not get overwhelmed by all these bigger energies that are happening this summer and like we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves or staying kind of present to what's here now. And it just gives you like a way to work with whether it's the new moon and we're starting something or it's the full moon and we're completing or resolving something, we can bring in that energy to the intentions and how we're consciously working with the energies. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you the chart of this full moon. This is based here where I am in Colorado. It would look a little bit different if you're somewhere else. I feel like this is just extraordinarily grounded moon. Like this moon is really asking us to slow down. I'm literally sitting here drinking this beautiful herbal tea. I have my window open, the night air is coming in. It's such, Taurus really wants us to be connected to our five senses. So having that kind of practice of meditating with any sensory experiences is just beautiful right now. There's a huge thing that's new in this particular new moon in Taurus, which is we have not had for 8 years a new moon in Taurus that didn't have Uranus also rumbling things up, zapping things, awakening things in the Taurus parts of your chart. So this is like a settling. This is a time to feel what is here now that we don't have that awakening, transformational, kind of nonstop page turning, apple cart dumping kind of energy that Uranus likes to be. Uranus is the awakener. Uranus um, wants us to move to the future, wants us to awaken to possibility and innovation. So does not like the status quo, wants things to keep shifting. And this is the first time that we get to feel what it's like to have a really pure new moon in Taurus energy, which really is, it's lovely. It's almost like we have to remember how it feels to be in just pure Taurus energy because it has not been without Uranus in so long. I know that I am personally working with I always take nature walks, but I'm like walking 3 times as much and even slower also than I usually do. And just taking in what my eyes are seeing, what my nose is smelling, like all the sweetness and the softness that's around. It's also about comfort and security. And it's very hard to feel comfortable and secure when Uranus is shooting lightning bolts every 5 seconds and um jarring things, like like taking things and turning them inside out. And so it's like we have to remember what it's like to just feel comfortable and present and whole and connected to our senses and able to be secure with nothing else messing with that. And so it's a very new, different Taurian energy. So I wanted to call that out. This is also an important time to reflect back a bit on what you have around the tail end of Taurus in your chart, because that's where Uranus has been most recently changing things up for you. And now it's like we can let the ground settle. It's like this is like an after the earthquake kind of energy. We can start to trust that the reality that's here our own, is our reality now. It's something like that. Um, and like we can trust it. Like the next kind of change that Uranus is going to bring in is in Gemini, which is much more about our mind and our thoughts and our mindset and our beliefs even and our worldview. Like that's what's going to be changing now, not so much our day-to-day physical, tangible reality. I mean, that probably will change too, but in that Uranic way. Yeah. So this new moon without Uranus in Taurus, which has brought in 8 years of upheaval in this part of your chart, destabilization, awakening, body level change. Think of what's changed in you since 2018. Even so, the energy in these next 2 weeks is a lot. So the emphasis isn't in the Taurus part of your chart, and that's where we get to just take a beat. But there's a lot of other stuff going on. We got this air fire year that's still crazy and pushy and initiatory and fiery and all over the place. But this is like our quiet moment. I feel like we have this weekend to just be in that sweet spot of the Taurus new moon, just enjoying what is, enjoying where we are, sitting on the ledge and looking at where we just came from. There is a palpable feeling here. Taurus is very tangible of exhaling after survival mode, of nervous system being able to recalibrate, of reality reorganizing itself. And like I said, the body asking for you to slow down, slower pace. Consciousness is beginning to stabilize into a new frequency. This is like as Uranus crossed over that threshold from Taurus to Gemini, which was April 25th, there's been this like shift in frequency that now we're meant to embody. This is the new frequency. So this is like the embodiment of that kind of futuristic shift. It's like we can feel the future's here, it's coming. It's not quite something we can touch and describe, but the frequency of it is here. And Taurus wants us to feel that and orient to that in our body. This is not passive Taurus energy. This is Taurus in recovery. I actually loved at the graduation ceremony tonight, one of the speakers talked about the importance, not so much of the productivity and the accomplishment, and that's all the stuff that gets recognized and focused on, but she talked about the importance of rest and how sweet it is to know that you are just good as you are without any productivity or any accomplishment. And it was just very, I was like, this is such an awesome Taurus moon speech. It was so cute. The next 2 weeks feel like a bridge between worlds. Okay. So as we kind of come into our senses, into our present moment, into a slowing down, into our bodies over the weekend, we're going to start to feel that it's time to cross a bridge into the future, the thing that's coming. The next 2 weeks bring I think more of a settling, like the movement across this bridge is not so hyper vigilant as it's felt for the last while. I mean, for a long time, I think we've been like peeking out around the corner, like, what is this that's coming? And now we're kind of less hyper vigilant. We can just kind of be and let ourselves walk with patience and presence across this bridge to the new world. But we are going to be more mentally activated, spiritually intelligent, and super psychic. This Gemini cycle is so psychic, and we're really beginning to bring new psychic awareness online. Pay attention to that if you can. Practice it in tiny ways. Like just let yourself have little like mini pings until you can trust the bigger ones. The most dominant energetic themes for the next 2 weeks are this rebuilding after a shock, sudden mental awakening and new consciousness, and then spiritual integration on a soul level. And this has to do with the nodes changing this summer. So let's talk a little bit about the rebuilding after a shock. There's this kind of bruised energy that's happening right now, too. We have Chiron and Mars in a conjunction. You can see they're right here, like exact. It's pretty much exact with this new moon. It's very much kind of baked into the frequency of this new moon energy. So that tells us how important the Mars Chiron connection is. It's like more potent because it's timed with the new moon. Anytime something's timed with the lunar cycle, it brings it stronger, more personally into our lives and our experience. What is Mars and Chiron? It's like tending to the wound in a deeply physical way. It is understanding the wisdom that the body holds. It's listening to what's true and present in your body without self-abandoning, without self-deprecating, without needing to be or do anything, like not being someone you're not. It has that kind of energy to it. Um, I talked in my last podcast, it would be the full moon in Scorpio episode a couple weeks back, about how Chiron is going to be moving into Taurus. There's a lot, I would go back and listen to that podcast if you want to get a little bit more of the Chiron story, because Chiron was also discovered in 1977 and will be, at the time, was in early Taurus. So Chiron will be coming into the point over the next year where he was when he was discovered, which is a 50-year cycle. Chiron returns are 50 years. So I think there's something really big for us here. I think it's starting to sort of come up into awareness with this new moon in Taurus. We're going to start to know and understand what really needs to be healed. Like all the other Chiron and Aries timeline, which has also been since 2018. That's been a lot of healing around the self, like self energy, internal family systems, narcissism patterns, addiction stuff, like all of that kind of lives in the Chiron and Aries world, in my opinion. And that's been what's been in kind of the collective healing narrative, the things we see on online and whatnot. But I think what is really coming to be real now is how do we let the body be the knower instead of all of the dialogue in the mind and the self-directed, like the surge of self-awareness kind of thing. So this is going to be an era of, the next 8 years or so. It's going to be much more about letting the body lead the way and heal from the inside out, not from top-down mental energies. And I think that's going to be part of how we're kind of recalibrating and orienting to this mindset shift, psychic energy, frequency, innovative, futuristic energy that's coming in with the Uranus and Gemini era and with the Pluto, Neptune, Uranus coming into a minor grand trine this summer that's like so much like surging us ahead into something like probably really exciting. But really, there's like this simplicity in just the knowing that's already here in our bodies or the knowing that's in the earth. It's like letting the earth breathe, letting the earth be your mother. That's what this feels like to me. Um, I also think survival patterns. So we've been in this having Chiron move through Aries has been very much about survival energies. Aries is the first sign. It's can I exist? Am I alive? Am I here? And there's something around all the things that we have survived. We've been through so much as a collective during since 2018. And the survival patterns don't have to run the show anymore. Like there's something with Taurus that's about just being okay now. It doesn't have that hyper vigilant quality. It's like here and now I can find inner security in my body no matter what's happening. That's that kind of like an anchoring. Taurus wants us to slow down enough to actually heal, not just like this like mental understanding level that I think we've been stuck at, but to actually tend to yourself. And I think what this is going to be about is almost like stopping the push, stopping the Aries energy. Like we don't have to force anything. We don't have to progress even. We don't have to keep working our like doing our work and like working hard to like get to the thing when it comes to healing. We can just like let the wound heal. Like just slow down and watch the healing process do what it does on its own. And then we're going to also have this like sudden mental awakening energy, which really is a new consciousness. There's like a new collective consciousness taking shape in the earth. Mercury entering Gemini and immediately meeting Uranus, which is coming soon, is a very brilliant, electric, highly psychic atmosphere. Like I think it's going to be like psychic. Like if you have like a dial, I don't know, I always picture it's like on my temple, like my psychic dial. Like you can just like turn that baby up to 10, like no problem. And let me actually tell you when well, I'm going to get to the calendar points in a second, but um, I'll just wait. I'll tell you when Gemini's or when Mercury's moving in Gemini at that toward the end when I do the calendar stuff. But what this is going to bring in is the downloads, the realizations, the conversations, the chitter chatter, the excitement with in the relational field. It's truth arriving quickly. It's like you don't even have to like search or seek understanding. Like you just get it. You just know what it is. The nervous system is going to be processing way faster than usual. So this is something to also caretake in yourself, letting your nervous system kind of recalibrate what's safe because safe comes a lot quicker now. You may feel mentally overstimulated during this time. You may feel creatively alive. Love that for you. You may be unable to sleep normally. Don't love that for you. I'm sorry. I actually what my like nighttime drink that I'm having here, which I love, Wooden Spoon makes a dried tart cherry powder that has melatonin, and I put a little bit of skullcap in it. It's such a great nighttime little beverage. Going to sleep after this. So, supporting yourself with anything that's going to feel challenging on this list. You may also feel suddenly clear about the future. I cannot tell you how quick things will shift. Like maybe this has already come in when Uranus moved out of the end of Taurus a couple weeks back. Are you doing something totally different or the unexpected that you did not think you'd be doing? Or are you going to be this week? I bet you will. Um, and then I think you're going to be able to feel the shifting of timelines. This is something that a lot of spiritual people talk about. It's um to me, it has this feeling of like, let's see, what is this like? There's like a circuitry with like the timeline that holds like this possibility or potential. And then I can feel and sense a different circuitry that has a different outcome or a different layer of relational nuance to it. They're just barely off from each other, but I can start to use my mind as a tool, my awareness, my focus to choose the circuitry that I'm most aligned with. And that really helps me. Something that I do to be on a timeline that is the most aligned with my current state of being, my heart and my soul, my spirit. So another kind of theme that's coming through right now is spiritual integration. There's this like this way that we're looking forward and we're looking back at the same time. And the nodes, the north and south node change every 18 months to a new sign. They move backwards in the zodiac. And the nodes are about a sense of soul, purpose. They have karmic energy in them. And I always feel like they're kind of washing and clearing out whatever our human self just went through. Like in the forward motion of the zodiac, we like are dealing with things, and then the nodes come back and like wash them out or kind of give us like, okay, now you're done with that. It's time for the next thing. So there's always this kind of integration period when we move toward the months where the nodes are going to be changing, which is happening in July. But there are multiple activations. So there's going to be exact transits happening to the Pisces North Node and the Virgo South Node because they're always opposite each other. So anything that happens to one happens in relationship to the other as well. And this is going to be like karmic transitional energy. It feels like, what have I learned spiritually since 2011? It feels like, who have I become on a soul expressing itself here in the earth level? And it feels like, what reality am I choosing now? There's enormous emphasis on intuition, multidimensional awareness, consciousness shaping reality, listening inward deeply instead of externally, an embodiment of spiritual maturity. These are all coming from that Pisces energy feeding the North Node. We'll get into the dates when these transits are happening in a bit here. And then we're going to have Gemini season beginning the new story. That's coming up real soon. Once the sun enters Gemini on May 20th, it will conjoin Uranus and Sedna and will be conjunct the Pleiades. That is a lot happening all at once. And this energy becomes super future facing. We just get like, I feel like this is when we're really going to be understanding what Uranus and Gemini feels like and is like in our daily lives once we hit May 20th. It feels innovative, it feels fast, it feels brilliant, it feels connected, it feels like you can find alignment in a heartbeat. It feels social, it feels creative. It's like we're alive again. There's an aliveness in the collective. It's exciting and excitable. After years of density and this like Uranus and Taurus vibe, this is going to feel like finally we can move, finally we can go, we can lift off, we can take off. There's a deeper conjunction waking up galactic codes on the planet happening because of this alignment with Sedna and the Pleiades all at the same time as well. Next, what I'm going to do is tell you the chart hotspots, so the specific places in your chart where you can look to find out where these energies are hitting. So in Taurus, it's late degrees. It's 25 to 29 degrees. And this is where the Taurus New Moon is happening. It's where the true reset is happening now that Uranus has moved on. This is where your life is stabilizing or restabilizing. It's where your nervous system is coming out of survival mode, your body, your finances, your values, a sense of safety and home come back. The nervous system asks for grounding and intentional tending, and that is wherever you have, whatever house you have at the late degrees of Taurus is where to really focus that energy intentionally. This is a major embodiment. It's nervous system, financial, and reality restructuring themes. In Gemini, early Gemini. This is where Uranus is sitting. We just talked about everything kind of crossing that threshold from Taurus into Gemini. This is a major activation zone. So it's interesting. We have like the stabilization happening like right there, and then like right across the street, we've got the activation zone happening. This is where insight arrives, conversations accelerate, new ideas form, future pathways emerge, nervous system awakenings happen. This is the biggest new consciousness zone in this couple of weeks, but like for a while, this is where we're going to be really reinvigorating ourselves. This is 0 degrees to 6 degrees of Gemini. This is the biggest activation zone overall. If you're going to really feel something in the next couple of weeks, I think this is where you're going to be getting it. Mercury, Uranus, and the Sun are all going to ignite this area with breakthrough energy, rapid mental shifts, awakening, future vision, nervous system electricity. I actually want you to think about keeping yourself electric, like making sure you have your electrolytes and you're remembering that you are an electrical being. We still have Aries stuff happening. I know it feels like forever ago. It wasn't that long ago. We were talking about the Neptune Saturn conjunction in Aries. That happened February 20th. But we still have a lot happening in Aries with Neptune and Saturn still there. They've moved apart. They're having their own, like they were like so coordinated for a while, and now they've moved apart and they're kind of doing their own thing in Aries, but they're both still having a really big voice. This is deep healing around identity, courage, anger, survival, super old wounds, like the kinds of wounds that you've carried for lifetimes. Mars and Chiron in this conjunction that we have right now, it's going to feel tender or inflamed before resolution arrives. So you might be right now living through the feeling of that tenderness, but we're about to get to more of a healing and awakening. And this is also late degrees of Aries where the Mars Chiron is happening, 27 degrees to 29 of Aries. But we still have Neptune in early Aries and Saturn moving toward mid Aries. So it's really a lot of Aries stuff still activating. But this final Mars Chiron conjunction, this is the final time they'll be conjunct in Aries because Mars takes about 2 years to move around the zodiac wheel. So in 2 years, by the time Mars comes back to its next conjunction with Chiron, they'll be in Taurus. So this is the deepest wound healing and identity pressure point of the cycle, especially impactful for late cardinal placements. This is going to be working with you if you have anything in late Cancer, late Libra, late Capricorn as well. Then we have Pisces and Aquarius. I'm seeing them as kind of like teaming up together. They're next to each other in the zodiac wheel. They're the last and the second to the last signs in the zodiac wheel. And they're really both about soul level transformation. The North Node is activating here. It's remember I said it's moving backwards. So it's moving through the earliest degrees of Pisces and moving into Aquarius later in the summer. The North Node activations in early Pisces feel like karmic completion points around spirituality, surrender, intuition, grief, faith, creativity, and soul evolution. So this is in the Pisces part of your chart, early Pisces into late Aquarius. Pluto is now retrograde in early Aquarius, got to 5 degrees, and is starting to move backwards slowly to this really magical 4 degree point where all the big stuff happens this summer, which we'll be talking about more. Anything that's going to move forward in your life is going to be in these like early degrees connected to that Pluto and Aquarius and the fixed signs and the air signs and the fire signs. But we're also looking at 4 to 6 degrees of Pisces because of the node being there. So this is why I'm kind of looking at this piece of the chart where Pisces and Aquarius are. It's like an activation field. This is karmic spiritual evolution. This is running underneath the entire month, especially around consciousness, destiny, intuition, and collective transformation. Okay, so it's a lot. It's just a lot. There's a lot of different energies here. If I were you, I would pick the one that calls to you. If you know your chart really well, you can probably already tell what's happening the biggest for you because you know your chart. Otherwise, just live it. Just feel like which theme called to me and just work with that. Find where that is in your chart. See if you can get some insight using that house placement or any other um, whatever it's squaring or opposing in your chart. That's going to be where the cosmos is asking you to work with these energies. Now's the time to get out your calendar. I'm going to go through day by day some placements and exact times of where things are happening. If you don't care so much about the specifics, I'll see you back here next time. But here, Astro Nerds, you go with the transits for the next couple of weeks. Today, Saturday, May 16th, the new moon in Taurus at 2:01 p.m. Mountain Time, 25 degrees, 27 minutes. Grounding after chaos. Same day, a little bit earlier at 1:34 p.m. Mountain Time, we had Mars conjunct Chiron in Aries at 28 degrees and 24 minutes. The final pass, the final time. It's going to be 50 years before, well, it'll be more like 45-ish years until we have Aries or Chiron at the beginning of Aries with any potential for a Mars conjunction there. So we are done with that energy. This is deep wound integration and survival healing. The lunar manifestation cycle that I talked about, I just wanted to call out that 27-month cycle. What we're setting intentions for now with the new moon in Taurus has its full moon energy in when we have the full moon in Taurus in 18 months, and that's going to happen exactly on November 13th, 2027. So use that for your however you're working your intentions, goals, however you work with this energy. Sunday, May 17th, Mercury enters Gemini. You're going to feel this. Gemini is the home of Mercury, one of the two homes of Mercury. It happens at 4:26 a.m. Mountain Time. You're going to wake up to it. You're going to, this week is like, you're going to probably be able to get a lot done, which is lovely. But don't forget the Taurus energy of staying present. Preceding the sun, so Mercury's now moved ahead of the sun. Mercury brings in the downloads from Uranus before we can even catch our breath, which is also a Gemini energy. This is the true zero point of the acceleration of the Uranus and Gemini era. This is when I think we're just going to get like the wind at our backs. We're going to be literally flying. And that era goes through the summer of 2032, just to give you a little preview on how long we're going to be flying. Mercury conjunct Uranus is going to happen exact on the 17th at 6:10 p.m. It happens at 1 degree 14 minutes. Find where that is in your chart. That is absolute breakthrough energy. That is nervous system activation. It's sudden insight. Use it, catch it, be present to it. Monday, May 18th is when Mars will enter Taurus at 4:25 p.m. I love this. I think Mars is going to kind of be coming out of that like wound healing bruise thing that with Chiron, but like just tracking right after the new moon having been in Taurus, there's going to be something really embodied about Mars entering with this timing. Slow, sustainable building energy can begin. We're kind of like coming out of like angry reactive mode a little bit and more into like, let me just feel into my body and see what's happening here before I go or react. Venus enters Cancer same day, 7:05 p.m. Mountain. This is emotional softness, it's sweetness. Venus loves Cancer. It's intuition, it's home, it's nourishment. And then Venus will sextile Mars, which is lovely. We love when that happens. It's at 11:37 p.m. It's the heart and the body working together again with that like Cancer Taurus synergy. There's just something really beautiful about this, the beginning of this week. Tuesday, May 19th, Mercury trines Pluto retrograde, 4:52 p.m. This is when something surfaces, I think, in your healing journey. I think that deep transformative quality, that excavation energy of Pluto retrograde is really bringing something to mind, or you find the insight you've been working with on a deep level. Wednesday the 20th is when the sun enters Gemini, Gemini season. This is when we really get the Gemini era, this like Uranian thing that we're going to be living in until 2032. The sun enters Gemini at 6:36 p.m. It's curiosity, it's movement, it's connection, it's new timelines. Saturday the 23rd, This is when the sun will conjunct Uranus in Gemini, 8:26 a.m. This is the signature transit of the cycle. This is awakening, liberation, future consciousness, nervous system electricity. There's a first quarter moon in Virgo that day too. So that's kind of interesting. If you have my planner, you'll see the dates. It'll connect you back to when we had the new moon in Virgo 9 months ago. This is going to be integration through practical action, embodiment, tending, nurturing, spiritual, like practical magic energy is how I think of Virgo. If you're tracking the lunar manifestation cycle, also that new moon in Virgo was an eclipse. So it was like a very powerful, very potent new moon. That was on September 21st of 2025. Major check-in point now for like anytime we have the first quarter moon, it's a choice point. It's a check-in. It's like a stop, hold up, wait, let's reassess. And I think the timing we get with all the Gemini energy, it's going to be like obvious what we need to switch. But like you'll just know. Like that's kind of my answer for everything now. You'll just know. Same day, Venus trines the North Node. So again, that spiritual purpose kind of energy, that spiritual maturity we're coming into as the North Node moves to the beginning of Pisces. That's at 5:30 p.m. that day. It's heart-led karmic alignment. It's spiritual sweetness, and it's just it's a great week. Sunday, May 24th kicks off the week that my planner calls the Truth Under Pressure week. This carries us to the next full moon, which is going to be Sunday, May 23rd. So that same day on Sunday, the 24th, Mars will sextile the North Node. This is something that we're going to do with that Venus energy with the North Node that I just talked about. This happens on the May 24th at 10:11 p.m. Soul-directed action, choosing the future consciously. Honestly, if there's nothing else you get out of this podcast episode, I want you to write that down and highlight that. Choosing the future consciously. This likely brings action steps or real choice points going back to the September eclipse that I just talked about, 9/21/25, as Mars activates the nodes here. Then on Monday, May 25th, Mars will square Pluto retrograde. I'm sorry about this. This is like a clunky, chunky, reactive situation, probably. It happens at 10:02 p.m., so we could feel this a couple days before. Mars stuff to me usually comes in a couple days before it actually happens, so we might be feeling it over that weekend. I think that's Memorial Day weekend. This is about power struggles, pressure, intensity, transformational friction. It can be really bad conflict energy. It can be explosive. Please be careful. That is a weekend to be really mindful, just very, very mindful and present as best you can. Stay safe out there. Tuesday, May 26th, the sun trines Pluto retrograde at 9:52 a.m. This is great. This is empowerment. This is clarity. This is taking what you've been transforming even deeper and making it visible. This is being in your self energy, like you are the light of yourself. It has that energy, like no matter what. And Pluto brings more of that out by bringing the shadow to the light. Thursday, May 28th, Venus will square Saturn. Not my favorite. This is not my favorite energy. It happens at 9:02 p.m. We can use it though for emotional maturity. We can use it for finding our structure within. Almost like you can find structure in your emotion or your heart space to kind of anchor or hold you, hold the content of your emotional field. This is also relational reality. It's softening long-standing heaviness. It does have like consequential, like Saturn brings the rewards and the punishments. Like it brings both. And it depends on how you are staying true to your karmic purpose and like why are you here in this lifetime? Like Saturn is really about incarnating and staying in your bones and your bone truth. Sunday, May 31st will be our full moon in Sag, happening at 9 degrees 55 minutes. And that's going to be at 2:45 a.m. So it's kind of Saturday night-ish into Sunday. It's going to be a culmination point. This is Sag is about wisdom, expansion, exploration, truth, belief systems, future vision. It feels like a threshold into June. and in a completely different energetic chapter we'll be starting. This is also interesting because we've had these new moons at the beginning of the month, and this is the first, or sorry, full moons. We've been like starting months with like full moon on blast, and this is now we have it at the end of the month. And that kind of just does something to our brains because we're so um, patriarchal, Gregorian calendar oriented with the months. And the new moon, by the way, if you want to look back at the gestational lunar manifestation cycle, the new moon for this annual lunar pattern. Oh no, I didn't give you that one. That's in my planner, the longer one. The 6 month pattern, the new moon in Sag happened December 19th. So that's sort of like midterm lunar cycle that we follow. And that was at 28 degrees and 25 minutes. So you can take some time to reflect on that axis in your chart, this Gemini Sag axis. This is going to be electric for the next 8 years. Is that right? 2026, 6 years. I can't count at night. 6 years. So this is, I think that axis, this full moon that we're going to come into, where I'll be meeting you here at the next podcast, it's when this axis really, it's like the electrical current runs across the axis and it's on. And it's on until 2032. And you just need to know that. So what do you have on that axis? That is wide awake. It's a live wire. Um, okay. That's all I got for you. Reach out. I'm still doing Chiron readings. I'll put the link below. If you want to find out more to kind of absorb that and resolve that kind of healing energy, work with this Mars Chiron conjunction that's here today with this new moon. I think it's not always the most like sexy or exciting chart reading, but it's so important to understand Chiron in your chart. So many things will click. You can see Chiron, the glyph of Chiron is the key. It's like this key that unlocks so much when you understand Chiron in your chart. So I have those as a discounted recorded reading, and I will have that link below as well as my planner. My new quarter 3 planner will be coming out, which covers July, August, and September. That should be available in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping by early June. So you'll have it a little bit ahead of time. I think you know where to find me in all the places: Substack, YouTube, Instagram. I'm at Astrology Intuition. I hope you take care of yourself out there. Happy new moon.